All right, Dave. I don't know how much you caught over the last 5 minutes, but the
I
floor is
caught
yours.
enough
How you
of
doing? Happy New
AJ's
Year.
lies.
What lies did I tell? What lie did I tell?
I have never, ever walked into the clubhouse carrying my motorcycle helmet or my leather jacket. Ever.
Like this, look. Like this with your leather coat on, like this, and you're like, hold on, you see that extra chair next to your locker? Can I put my helmet on it so I can ask you a question, please?
Like you with a Florida Gators football helmet, like you played football. Hey,
Hey, like
never.
you ride a motorcycle.
Okay, well, why'd you say I do? I do, but why'd you say I do if I don't? Huh? But I have never walked into the clubhouse for that reason. I don't want to look like a jackball carrying my motorcycle helmet into the clubhouse. Ever.
Damn straight.
I go to the press
Wait,
box.
if you've never done it, then how do I know you ride a motorcycle and carry a helmet around?
Because you've seen it in the press box.
Oh,
I have to put it somewhere. We don't have lockers, so I have it sitting at where I'm working at my table.
He is wearing a Harley Davidson hat.
I do wear one right now. I'm wearing one, but I don't wear it to the ballpark generally. I don't think.
All right. Well, hold up.
Whatever. AJ, but Bowman is not twice my size. That's not
close.
fair. It's maybe close.
Hey, on the badass category.
That's not fair to Bowman, though, man.
I love Bowman. That's true.
Dave, are you prepared for the badass that just entered the Atlanta clubhouse in Chris Sale, who's not afraid to shit on a uniform if it's not up to his standards, and who does bring
or to cut it up, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that what he did?
Yes, that is
exactly.
exactly
I love
what he
having
did.
guys like that. I love having guys like that. I mean, believe it or not,
they'll like him there?
I liked having AJ on the team. Believe it or not.
Do they have that, Dave? So let's start with Sale, okay, and then we'll get to Grissom. Do they have that? And how much does it help to have a guy like that? Obviously, we'll get to also the fact that he needs to stay on the field. But your thoughts here?
They had Josh Donaldson, man, and he was a great fit. He brought, I think they might be missing a little bit of that edge. I don't think that was the reason they got beat in the first round of playoffs, but I think that and Dansby said this too when he was here. It's nice to have a lot of different type guys, not just the same type guys. To have a guy like Josh Donaldson, who's kind of provokes things and comes in and needles everybody from the time he walks through the door, and it's just highly, highly competitive. When he goes through the tunnel, it's cussing and let's go and all that. And I think adding a guy like Chris Sale to that starting rotation can only help. I mean, you don't have one like him in that rotation. I mean, I guess Spencer Strider, you could say is he's a power arm and all that, but he's a really intellectual guy. And off the field, off the mound, Strider's not like that at all. So I think having a veteran to kind of go with Charlie Morton, who's the most mild-mannered, nicest guy on earth, Charlie Morton, who's 40. Charlie adds a ton to this team. But I think Chris Sale will add, from everything I've heard about him, from what AJ said and what Tyler Flowers has said, who caught him. Everybody says highly, highly competitive and that great teammate. And that's all I need to hear. When other teammates say he's a great teammate, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what we think or what fans think. It's what players think.
Listen, Chris Sale is far from a prick. Okay, he's not even close to my level. So let's just get that out there. Let's just get that out there right now. Chris Sale is one of the best dudes I ever played with. Okay, and his locker was next to me after Burley left in 2012, and he's one of my favorite guys I ever played with. And I think he'll bring a lot to what he'll bring is, listen, there's some veterans there, obviously Fried and Morton, but he'll also bring a different attitude. And like, Chris Sale doesn't put up with shit. And that doesn't mean you're a prick. What he'll do is he'll give his opinion and he'll say, hey, this is what I feel and this is what I think. And he'll stick by it, but he does it in the right way. And I mean, he cut up some uniforms, he's broke some TVs, but I mean, who hasn't done stuff like that in their past? So listen, he's competitive as they come and he'll fit in perfectly, especially think about if he's their fourth starter, he's matching up with team's fourth guy on every fifth day, and he wants to pitch. And if he's healthy, I think this is one of the best moves Alex Anthopoulos could have ever made.
I agree. I think he's a great ad, and it's a low-risk move. Sure, as Kenny mentioned, there's some risk involved in the next 2 years because you don't have guys sign long-term. but they got a $20 million option on him. And if he's healthy, they pick that up, just like they picked up Charlie Morton's $20 million option this year. And also, if you think about how they can go, they've added yet another totally different type of pitcher in that. If you look at the other 4 guys in that rotation, they could go Strider, power righty, then go Fried lefty, then Charlie Ford at third, and then bring in Sale at 4 and whoever they have at 5th. I mean, you could have just totally different looks each day for what that's worth. I know starters don't go 7, 8 innings like they used to, but I still think there's some value to that when teams are prepping for a team and each starter they see is going to be totally different. And then they got their arms in the bullpen are all really kind of different guys too. They don't have a bunch of the same type guys in the pen either.
They have all the left-handers. They
got a lot of them, man. They got a lot of them. And then they're going to have Perdomo in a year from now too. They got him from the Pirates. I couldn't believe the Pirates let him go, but I don't think the Pirates are in a position to pay a guy to rehab for a year. And the Braves are willing to do that. Look at the big picture, because Perdomo could be a steal. I mean, they picked him up off waivers, re-signed him, and they'll pay to rehab him this year, and he'll be ready a year from now. So that could be a big one. And they're going to have Penn Murphy, who's got a good arm. He's going to be back around the break. He's rehabbing from TJ. Their pen is going to be potentially, I think, the deepest in the majors, which they're probably going to need because they're not going to have a lot of guys going 7, 8 innings.
So did you see any of these moves happening? And is Alex Anthopoulos winning the offseason, even though I get it, he didn't sign Ohtani, he didn't sign Yamamoto. That's the big splashes. But he had a World Series contending team, the favorite until all these big signings, and he's still making moves that makes people go, wow, that's a great move. Just like what AJ just said.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a kind of what separates him from a lot of GMs and president of baseball operations, whatever. He has both those titles, like so many of them do these days, is that he doesn't care about the public perception. He's got rock solid job stability. Obviously, he'll be here as long as he wants to be here. And he makes moves with the big picture in mind, knowing that the payroll is going up each year and it's in the top 5 now. But it's never going to be where like the Dodgers are this year, where the Mets were last year. So you still have to make moves with the payroll restrictions in mind. And also he did all those long-term extensions that, while they're all great deals, if those guys just stay healthy, they did bring up the AAVs higher than those guys than a few of those guys are actually making right now. Their AAVs higher. So it pushes your payroll up, and this year they're over for the second year in a row over the threshold. But right now they're knocking at the third tier of the threshold, the $277 million, which brings a lot more penalties on top of it. But they can stay under that. But my thing about Alex is that he just makes these moves with always a long-term plan in mind. He's not a guy at the end of his career who's just trying to win a World Series at any cost this year. Yeah, he's trying to win a World Series, but he also knows they have to be ready for what's down the line, which is why they got all those young guys like Austin Riley and Michael Harris and Acuna and all of them they signed so early, knowing that there's very little risk involved as long as they stay healthy and you're set up for the long term. All they have to do is fill left field. And if Kelenic, plays the way he showed he could last year in the first 45 games, if he plays like that, they've got left field covered for the next several years. If not, they'll go out and fill that in the future. But pitching is really the only area where they have to, starting pitching in the future where Alex has to kind of spackle over and make some good additions, because he's put together a team that should be great for 5 years at least.
So we're not talking about a team that's like hoping to make the playoffs. We're talking about, are they adding pieces that will win them the World Series, get past the Phillies? Why, you said they can't spend like these teams. Why not? I've seen the battery. We had Sal Fasano on here talking about.
They can if they want to. I mean, if they want to.
So you said they can't. Why can't they?
Because they have self-imposed budget restrictions. And
by who? The ownership?
By ownership, by Terry McGurk, who's kind of the liaison, who is the de facto owner, because he makes those kind of decisions. Ownership's out of Denver, Colorado, Liberty Media. They've got so many things on their plate. They're not worried about the Braves. They trust that Terry McGurk is going to make the call that they can both win and make a big profit. and they try to do both, and they've done both very well for the last few years. They got eliminated in the first round, but I don't think that was because of the budget, to be honest. I mean, when they won the World Series, it wasn't because of the budget. They got beat in the first round because they had 4 extra base hits in 4 games after leading the majors tied the major league record in home runs and leading the majors in every offensive category. And for the second year, having a couple of starting pitchers who weren't at their best when playoffs rolled around because of illness or injury. So I think a lot of that's just luck. I don't think that you can throw money and fix things like that. I don't think that if they spent another $20 million, that would take care of that. And I think Alex working with what he has, which is, I mean, again, they're not mid payroll now. They're at $276 million with the luxury tax payroll right now. So they have plenty of money. It's just they have it tied up long term with all these guys. The reason they don't have to fill 3 spots in their lineup, they're all filled except left field, and now they think that's filled. But yeah, they could spend $350 million if they want and still probably make a nice profit. But Liberty Media is where it is because they run these businesses to make a lot of money, and the Braves are making a lot of money. So as long as they have their own restrictions on payroll, it is what it is.
All right, so we're talking to a media person in Atlanta. Maybe you guys aren't tough enough on them, because if you unlucky
I'm going to put your feet to the fire, right?
I'm feeding you to the fire because, like, let's do apples to apples. Like, if the Yankees lose in the first round after hitting tons of home runs, after being the best hitting team twice in a row, they're getting absolutely roasted. So is there just a different expectation in Atlanta? Like, oh, hey, you know what? We're lucky. Gee, golly, gosh darn. Because Liberty Media is taking that money and putting it in their pocket. Because what happens if it happens 3 years in a row? Now is there a fire that we don't know? We smell smoke, but we can't find the fire?
You know, what you're saying might be an issue if they didn't literally lead the majors with 104 wins last year and went 101 the year before. You're saying that if they had a payroll of $20 million higher, it would have somehow been different in the division series against the Pirates? Where would the money have come into play? Yeah, they could have added a starter at the trade deadline last year. They could have, and they probably should have, but they didn't. And their payroll is what it is. I mean, they've got teams like the Boston Red Sox who are printing money at Fenway Park. The Chicago Cubs are printing money at Wrigley Field. The Braves have a payroll higher than the Boston Red Sox, which never was the case for a long time. Going back, you'd have to go back into the early 80s when the Braves used to be top 3 in the payroll every year. But for a long time, they were down in the bottom half. Whereas the Red Sox, everybody knows, look what they charge per ticket. So I think they have a gripe, and those fans should be upset. But the Braves are winning 101 and 104 games last year. If they go to 90 wins next year and it's because they don't have enough starting pitching, or, I'm not even going to say if they don't have enough hitting, because they've got enough hitting. You can't complain about their hitting. I mean, they can't be any better than they were during this season. So I don't think that the payroll's become an issue yet. If it wasn't going up each year, when they've been making all this money hand over fist since the Battery Open, and especially since they won the World Series, if they weren't raising payroll every year, there would be a legitimate reason to gripe. But they are raising payroll, so it's kind of hard to argue with what they're doing. The only teams with higher payrolls are in the biggest markets in the country.
All right, Dave. I have 2 questions, a non-serious one and then a serious one. First one, did I see you just grab a cat and put it on your lap?
I did, man. That was Dusty.
You know what people have told me never trust a man with cats. So, I mean, that just proves you're lying about your motorcycle helmet.
I don't care what people say, man. I don't give a shit. Honestly. I'm too old to give a shit about that stuff.
All right, good. That's good. That's a good answer. Now, here's my serious question. With the addition of Chris Sale, and then you have Morton, and then you have Fried, and then you have Strider, obviously, he does year 1. What does this do for Ronaldo Lopez? They just signed him, and he was supposed to be stretched out to be a starter. So does this eliminate him being a starter, and does this put him into more of a swing role? Does this put him into a later inning role? Because that was kind of the thing. They signed him and said, oh, we're going to give him a chance to be a starter. But if you already have 4 and you throw in Elder and you throw in some other young guys, they have more than 5 starters already.
It's a great question, and I think it's to be determined. They if you take what Alex said at face value, he said when they signed him, They would they were going to get him stretched out to start this winter and at spring training, then make the call on where he could best be used. Right now, you could argue that he would best be used as the fifth starter in a loaded rotation because they have added so much to the bullpen. But you could also say he's been more effective in the bullpen. Maybe that changes. Maybe he's made adjustments in what he's throwing harder than ever. And maybe he can temper that a little bit as a starter and still be throwing 97. I mean, this guy's nasty, as you know. He wants to do it, whichever role. He said the day that Brace signed him, he told us that whichever role, they didn't give him any guarantees, whichever role they want to use him at, he's good with. And he seemed to be sincere about it. I don't know if he has a preference. Most guys want to start if they can until they've proven they can't do it. And I think he's made enough improvements in his game the last couple of years that he deserves another chance to start if that's what he wants to do. And the Braves, at least to begin the year, could probably really use him in that role. Over the course of the year, they're going to use. They've done this the past 3-4 years. They've used double-digit starters. I mean, they have a staff that just does not stay healthy for 32 starts apiece. One guy's 40 years old, and Charlie Fried's just had a lot of little stuff. I mean, whether it's a hamstring, the blisters, side issues, he's had a lot of little stuff. So, I think there's a real good chance that this guy's going to spend some time in the rotation this year. And you have to do that early, I think, while he is stretched out, because if you go 6 weeks into the season, he's not going to be stretched out if he's in the bullpen that whole time. And then you have to work him back up to that and go start him 3 innings, 4 innings. So that's what they did with Strider 2 years ago. If you remember, he started out in the bullpen. He was stretched out in spring, started in the pen his first time in the majors, and then they moved him to the rotation when they took off the year that they were under 500, 10 games behind the Mets. They moved Strider to the rotation and called up Harris, and then they took off right after that. But that was, at the end of May. So we'll see. That was a long-winded answer. I think he's going to get a chance to start. But whichever role he's used at, that guy's going to be a big impact for him. Man, we saw him with 2 teams last year against the Braves, and he was nasty. With the White Sox, he was as nasty as any reliever I saw in his appearances against the Braves. Seriously.
So, Dave, let's finish with this then. Let's get a quickie here to finish up while we're on the rotation. Max Fried is the consensus top asked about player in our very lively chat right now. Chances of him signing extension. Do the Braves look to do something like that? I'll tell you my quick opinion. No. I think he's gotten this far along. You're seeing some starting pitching contracts. If he has a freaking gangbusters year, and we can get the cat's opinion too, why not go to free agency and try and rack up 200 plus mil?
Yeah, it's just so hard to get a guy, as the Braves saw with Freddie Freeman and Dansby Swanson. It's so hard to wait this long, and they made an effort, whether it's a cursory effort, if they made a legitimate effort, I'm not quite sure. But it's hard to wait this long and expect a guy to sign because now he's taken on all that risk the last couple of years. What are you offering him, really? I mean, his only gamble now is that he can have a decent year this year, because if he waits, he's going to get a hell of a lot more money at the end of a typical Max Fried year than he's going to get by signing with the Braves now. And he's taking on the risk, He could have blown his elbow out the last year or his shoulder. And he took on the risk that time because the Braves didn't sign him long term. So I'm not going to blame the guy at all if he decides now to go, whether it's back to the West Coast or anywhere else. I know the Braves would like to keep him. I know the fans love him. We all love having him here. But he's also going to be 30 years old as a free agent because he kind of was a late arrival and had his career delayed almost 2 years by this first Tommy John. Well, he's only had one Tommy John, but by Tommy John surgery. So it really puts him in a bad spot, and I don't blame him. This is going to be his one probably really big payday. He hasn't had a huge payday yet. He's gone year to year. So I would say less than 50-50, and I say that, and Alex could do it this afternoon, just the way Alex operates. He's so covert, man. But I would say at this point, we've really come a long way to be expecting to sign him long term.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed with all of that. I mean, I think he should. I think he's going to have a big year, and I think he's going to go to free agency and cash the hell out. So at DOBRIENATL, you can read all his work in The Athletic. Always great to have you on, Dave. Appreciate you, man. I won't spread any lies. The AJ's just coming in hot.
He wasn't even the hardest on me today. It's Kratz, man.
Kratz was. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Call us soft here in the Atlanta market, man.
Yep.
All that BS. When's the last time the Yankees won a World Series?
I'm a Phillies fan.
Yankees won one. Hey, the Yankees won one after the Phillies have.
True.
Oh, yeah, 2009. You're right.
True.
Hey, by the way, OP.
The Yankees even went to the World Series.
Yeah.
You know? So all that holding their feet to the fire ain't working.
Hey, Dave, what these people don't understand is, someone that went through the very lean years in Atlanta, 15 and 16, the Braves are the only team to win a title in Atlanta, right? So that 95 team, when I was there in 15 and 16, they were like gods, and then they did it again in 21. So the Braves are the only major sports team to win a title in Atlanta. So that means something, and I'm happy for what you said when you said, hey, they're spending, because guess what? If you go to a game there, there's no better atmosphere than the Battery. I mean, 10 o'clock in the morning, there's people out there in the Battery for a 7 o'clock game. It's what every team strives to be, and I'm happy that the Braves are putting the money behind what they built.
Yeah, it's a cash cow. They're making money and winning, so can't really complain about that, man.
Hey, they're doing it right, so we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's a lot of time left in the offseason. Alex is taking advantage of some teams that have to cut payroll, so maybe there's more to it. But it's good to see you, man. We'll bring you back for the next move.
That's the thing about having money is if he needs to add a starter, they've got enough offense and enough pitching that they're not going to fall out of contention, period. And if he needs to add a big-time starter at the trade deadline, he can do that. He has the money, and McGurk will okay that. So they're in a lot bit different position than a lot of teams. They're in a good spot.
And he will do that.
They will do that. Exactly.
He made big moves.
Yeah, Braves fans, I know. I mean, they still got 2 months to complain before the actual season starts, but they're fine. They're living good compared to many teams that we're having therapy sessions for on a daily basis. So, Dave, good to see you, man. We'll catch you for the next move, all right?
All right. Thank you, man. Talk to you guys later.
Cheers.